Now, I don't think we've really touched upon this yet, but a bash shell has something called aliases, and we can make very good use of these. So let's move out to our command line and understand what aliases are and persist them in our login script. When I run things like ls-l, when I look, I'm getting some color coding here. But the color coding isn't really coming from ls, it's coming from an alias. If I go through and look at type ls, then it's telling me that ls is actually being picked up as an alias and is showing me the color information. If I want to run the command without the alias, just put the / in front of it. So this is what the output would look like. And it's really useful to have the color output, so it makes sense whenever we issue the ls command, we pick it up as an alias. I can always check the aliases that we have by actually typing alias at the command line, and we have these aliases that are already defined for me. But let's just look at another alias that we might want. If I copy /etc/hosts through to my current directory, so I'm just going to call that dot. That gives me a file in my home directory called hosts. So cat hosts. This file I could potentially edit because it's local to me. So I could then go through and vim hosts. I'm using the relative name relative to my home directory. It is then this host file. So I have got read privileges and write privileges to it. I'm going to move down to the Google line. But another really nice feature is if I want to delete a line, I can do it just using dd. dd deletes the line that I'm currently on. I could move up to the third line here. And if I wanted to delete 3 lines, including the comment, I can do a 3dd. So 3dd deletes 3 lines from your current line down. Once I've finished, I can use escape, and exit to save and exit the file. So of course, my host file now is slightly different. But look what happens when I go through and use the copy command again. I get no warning that we're overwriting the current file. So if I look now at the host file, it's back to the way that it was. Now, of course, what I could have done, and it's no point telling me now what I could have done, but I could have done a copy -i /etc hosts to the current directory. And if the file exists, it will warn me. If I don't want to copy, I can just put the letter N in. If I do want to copy, I can put the letter Y in. But I say it's a little bit late now because I've already overwritten my file. But if I wanted to protect against this in the future, I could create an alias. So I could go through and do an alias cp equals, and I'm just putting this in quotes because we're going to include spaces, cp -i, and then close my quote. If I don't quote the space, then that's going to be seen as breaking my command. Now, if I just run the copy command, so let's go back up, but let's take out the -i. But whenever I run copy now, it's automatically going to be running copy -i. So I can say, yes, I do want to overwrite. But if we're looking at a file that doesn't exist, so let's look at, say, host name to the current directory, then it doesn't prompt me. But if I do that a second time, then the host name file exists in my home directory. So it is going to prompt me to overwrite. So this is a reasonably nice feature to have. But if we want to persist this, then where do we put it? Well, we can put it into our login script. So we can get back, and I'm just going to then go through and use vim.bashrc. I am in my home directory. Once the file has opened, you can see I'm towards the bottom, but also moving up on the same page, I've got a grouping of aliases, so it's worth setting there. To insert data, I can use the lowercase I. Using the lowercase I will insert data wherever your cursor is located. So of course then I can just start typing my alias definition in exactly the same way as I typed it from the command line. So alias space CP. The CP is my alias name. Opening up my quotes, I can go through and put CP minus I and close the quotes. With the alias definition in, then I'm happy to go ahead and save my file. So I can hit escape, colon, and X. We can see the bottom left-hand corner and hit enter. My alias is currently set, but I want to see that it works on login. So I can Control and D. I can hit enter to log back in again. That's just my SSH client. Control and L. But now when I look at my aliases, I've got an alias for the copy command, so I know the integrity now of my copy operations.